The Watchers. A lot of you guys have been asking me to talk about this one, and it's not good, but it's also not so terrible that it becomes good, so it's just kind of disappointing. But it is based on a book, so I thought there was enough information here to kind of break down and talk about why this doesn't necessarily work for the genre it's in and where it failed in terms of adaptation, while acknowledging that it did kind of have its own vision. Adapted for the screen by Ishana Night Shyamalan, yes, that is M. Night Shyamalan's daughter, The Watchers is pretty bland. I think it has some good moments, some interesting mysteries, but it never really figures out how to balance the mystery with the exposition dumps that come from the Irish folklore it's based on. And y'all know I love lore, but I want to feel like I earned the lore, or the lore has to feel really fresh, this was just like some pretty standard stuff. The characters all mostly feel really underdeveloped, and they also just continuously do dumb things well after the point that it would make sense to be doing dumb things, which I'll allow in a movie that's fun or has enough other qualities to make up for that, like Abigail.
Sammy, those are fucking onions.
But in a movie like this, where it seems to actively be trying to go deeper in some way, I just expect more. I'll get into specifics in a bit, but one of the main issues here is just poor execution. But today's sponsor, Babbel, never has an execution issue when it comes to teaching me languages. So growing up, I was actually primarily in French classes until I hit high school, and then I moved away for university and lost most of my solid conversational skills, so while I can still understand most of what's being said to me, I have a hard time engaging with it in return. So I turned to Babbel to help reintegrate some of those skills into my life. It was able to quickly assess where I was at skill-wise, so I didn't need to start right down at the beginner level, and it's teaching me conversational French that's way more common in France, so that's gonna be really nice next time I attend a film festival there compared to my Canadian French. I'll be all set to make up fanciful tales of running off to the sea with thousands of dollars. J'ai 450,000 € sur mon compte. On pourrait échapper en bateau. J'aurai de l'argent et je serai riche. I'll just be running around the south of France yelling that. It's easy to see why Babbel is one of the top language learning apps in the world, because it's been so easy to reintegrate those skills and learn things I didn't know, so I'm actually really excited to pick up a new language right from the beginning in preparation for future travel plans. Knowing that I can start speaking conversationally within 3 weeks of starting a course really makes the challenge of learning something completely new feel a lot less impossible. And right now, you can get 60% off a Babbel subscription by clicking the link below. That's right, a whopping 60% just by clicking the link below, so check out Babbel today. Okay, so before going into spoilers, just a little bit of like light, no spoiler review with my issues and the general story and what it's going for. To start, I will acknowledge that the mental pressure that must be on Ishana for making her first feature in the mystery thriller horror genre must be pretty damn high, with her father being the guy in the twist space even when he isn't aiming for one. Though that pressure being the trade-off for just instantly having your foot in the door is probably worth it. I saw a lot of people trying to say that like she wasn't a Nepo baby just because of how he like kind of can struggle to make movies sometimes, but I'm sorry, when your last name is Shyamalan, that does get you things that someone whose last name is not Shyamalan might not get. And unfortunately, this does just end up being a really weak adaptation for what I thought was a pretty good book. Not perfect, but I feel like if this had been aimed at like a young adult audience, I would have loved this in middle or high school. Wait, that sounds like such an insult, but I swear it's not. I read a lot back then. It's pretty good. But the general premise is that a late 20-something woman named Mina ends up trapped in the Irish forest with a group of other unlucky travelers who spend their nights watched by mysterious creatures outside their walls. I think the book does a really good job putting us in the mind of the characters. It built tension fairly well, really instills this sense of dread. I really feel how much of a toll this experience took on them. Some issues in the writing style, but we're gonna have that in the movie too. But so overall, it's just a pretty solid read that's been left open for a sequel this fall that they have been sending to people already, but they're not sending it to me. But if you're watching, please send book. Please. The movie ends up gutting so much of the tension and character while adding a whole ass other element around Mina that could have worked, but I don't feel was implemented well at all. Where the book is mostly just trying to be a modernized Irish folk horror with elements of voyeurism, a protagonist with some issues they're not really working through, loneliness, and unwillingness to change. The movie really hones in on those elements and then just enhances so much of what's going on. There's a lot of mirrored imagery, Mina enjoying pretending to be other people, having a sister that's a twin to show what is essentially an exact parallel of a life she could have lived, and an isolation that she created for herself. All great in theory, bad execution. And then it kind of lazily handles the mystery, so it's not even satisfying when we get to the reveal. So many people are concerned with having a twist come out of nowhere that they forget what's satisfying in a twist in a mystery is being able to look back and see the little things that build into what that twist ends up being. It's so much more satisfying. Genuinely, the only tension I remember feeling while watching this movie is in the opening scene, so that is pretty bad for a horror thriller. And the dialogue is pretty fucking stilted. Guess that one runs in the family.
So what's your story? What are you running from?
But let's dive into spoilers. It starts with a narration from Mina saying that there's a forest in Ireland that draws in lost souls, before dropping us in with a man desperately running through the woods, almost reciting some kind of mantra to follow the light while looking for help until he realizes he's gone in a circle just as the light dies, desperately trying to escape through a tree before he gets drugged down into a pit and presumably murdered.
That's impossible.
And whatever he saw unsettled him way more than expected. Solid start! Good mystery! Let's see how they fumble it! We cut to Dakota fanning, vape nationing in the pet shop, sketching the people around her, capturing moments in time and never going deeper.
You know the animals don't like it when you smoke.
Ah, not citizens of Vape Nation. But this guy wants her to take a rare bird to Belfast while acknowledging that it's kind of a weird time for her because it's the 15-year anniversary of her mom's death. And there seems to be a lot of lingering trauma around that. In the book, it's only been a year since the mom's death, and that's kind of pushed Mina to be more withdrawn. Her mom kept her more together, and now that she's just left with her sister, who has a seemingly perfect life compared to her struggling artist lifestyle. In the movie, you can definitely get a sense of this comparison, but the sister does seem to reach out to her out of genuine concern as to why she's isolating so much compared to the book, and basically telling her to forgive herself, so I feel pretty sure that she's involved in whatever happened to the mom. But before she sets out on her journey, we need to set up a thematic through line. We're shown that she likes getting dressed up and talking to people as a different person.
You wouldn't like me if you knew the real me.
Oh my god, it's so bad. The parrot doesn't care. Don't be emo to the bird. Despite this shirt, it's not high school anymore. Yo, I bet if she does ever get out of the forest, though, that dude at the pet shop's gonna be like, yo, Mina, where the hell you been, Loca? Okay, I'm gonna keep going. Yeah, there just has to be a better way to express that Mina has some guilt issues with herself and therefore tries to not be herself. Love the bird, though. It's not supposed to be able to talk, but it just keeps telling her not to die.
Try not to die.
Shh. Great tactic, bird. Let's see how she does. But they continue on their journey, and the movie makes sure to show us all the missing people outside this gas station, and it's spanning across years, though most of these are just paper outside in Ireland. So, I really think the rain would have completely destroyed most of this, but that's okay. And her instructions just fully take her into the woods. And you know what? The second there's no trail, I'm leaving. You're not paying me enough to be here. Especially once the car starts acting up even a little bit. But no, she just keeps going until literally everything stalls out and it's just the wilderness. I swear, if this was me on this road, I'd be so confused. My phone would be in my hand and I would notice it freaking out and I would have promptly backed my ass up. Back that ass up. That is a song, right? Whatever, she eventually sees an older woman in the woods who she chases back to a house just as creature-like screams start to ring out. And now she's trapped in the coop.
We're just like you. Lost.
Why was that so awkwardly relayed? Honestly, I really thought she was gonna say, we're just like you, lost souls, because that's what they said at the beginning, but they just stop it there so awkwardly. I get that they're probably trying to make them seem like really weird, but it's a weird, interesting tactic. It's not working. But they really do just drop us in here. The second she stumbles in, they have her taking position in front of a mirror, otherwise the watchers will get mad. And whatever the watchers are, they start clapping for the newest cast member of their show, a brand new toy.
What is that? What are they doing?
Applause for you, Mina.
It is good that we're just thrown into this so immediately, but I feel like it contributes to how drained out some of these characters end up being. Like, Kira here reacts like she's completely out of it, whereas in the book, she's kind of just bedlocked because her husband, the guy from the beginning, John, hasn't come back yet, which typically means death. She's not so much playing like catatonic sad as much as like super out of it on some kind of drug, which is kind of a bummer because Georgina Campbell is so good in Barbarian and she's just not given anything here to work with. You know, it's bad when the author says that the character you're playing is his least favorite character when there's 4 characters with personalities in this book. The older woman in charge here is Madeline, who was in Tarot, you might remember. Again, not given too much to work with here. And their 4th is Daniel, super kind, super scared, which is fair. Actually, I can't even remember if he was super kind in the movie. He is kind in the book. And the added horror here is that while they can hear everything going on outside, they can't actually see what's outside because this window becomes a mirror at night, forcing them to just look back at themselves, never fully knowing what's looking back at them. Should be a recipe for horror and tension, but I feel nothing. Somehow that Strangers movie made me feel more tension. Amina pretty quickly realizes that finding a way out on her own is pretty hopeless and ends up back with the gang to learn that someone they call the Professor seems to have set this whole place up, including the point of no return markers, which could have been so much more sinister than the explanation we get. I don't think they're in the book from memory, and they just go so over the top with some of these in the movie, and I just don't understand why that much wild effort was put into a boundary marker. I don't know, it just feels really dumb. It's like this really cool imagery that has a lame explanation for why it's here. But one of the differences that immediately jumped out at me when comparing the book to the movie is that Madeline is so much more nurturing in the movie compared to the book, which is part of what contributes to why the ending does not feel satisfying, but we will get there. She's been here the longest and just naturally took charge, but in the book it's a lot more firm and judgmental compared to her here. She basically just bullies them all day long. And on top of all that, there are rules. They basically spend their nights performing and days foraging. Main rule is to be back to the coop by dark or die. Stay away from the burrows, which is where the watchers hide during the day because they can't be in the sunlight. And never turn your back to the mirror when they're watching or they get upset. One thing I did find was a fun addition in this movie though is that to add into that like voyeurism and how we're all just drawn to it in different ways, is that the only thing they have here to watch are DVD copies of a fake reality show called Lair of Love.
Chloe's just like so peng, like.
And another thing the movie adds is Mina having these hallucinations of little girls. Madeline just says that the woods have a way of playing tricks on you, but it's just part of a buildup to her dark past. All stuff that's just designed to kind of make it seem more creepy, but it's not really working. But Mina starts getting restless, which is totally fair, and wants to start pushing some rules and climb into a burrow like a fucking dumbass.
You can go back to the coop, go on living by her rules. But don't you want to know what they are?
And seeing as Madeline's been pretty kind up to this point, Mina's hostility feels so abrupt. Like, I would understand the general curiosity, but this is just a really weird tone and attitude to be coming at it. And again, I just cannot stress how fucking dumb this is. This isn't in the book and just seems to exist to say, hey, look, there's a lot of people who've actually gone missing here over the years, and not all of them were lucky enough to make it to the house. There's a paper from 1992, a handy cam that I really thought was gonna have some cool footage on it, but not a damn thing. They just turned it into a glorified security camera. You could have done some really cool in-movie found footage stuff there, but no. But most ominously, a stuffed rabbit to let us know that at least one kid has suffered a brutal death. And just as Danny's pulling the stuff up for her, the watchers realize she's here. Ooh, ominous humanoid hand with 6 fingers. Oh no, it's a generative AI monster. But they make it out, and obviously Madeline doesn't believe that they just found all this stuff around a rock, particularly the fucking bicycle. All the more obvious when the watchers don't show up when they're supposed to until someone shows up at the door. And that's someone, Kira's missing husband. But this obviously poses an issue. They can't open the door until daylight. That's a rule. The second they open the door, the watchers come in, they're breaking the rules. It's a whole thing. And Madeline also says she's pretty positive that it's not him, and even if it is, she's not opening the door. Clearly a trick or trap. And this is the first real signs of her getting aggressive in maintaining those rules, accusing Mina of taking advantage of Daniel to help her, that she's selfish. It's really just coming out of nowhere here, at least to the extent she's throwing it out there.
You behave like a child.
Now, her thinking that this might not actually be John is an initial clue as to what's going on here, but to try to see if it actually is John, Kira starts quizzing him, but he can't answer, but then he pans the camera at him, and it does look like him, and then he gets violently drug off screen before the watchers start attacking the door. At first, I didn't think it was him, but then in the book, it actually was John out there, and they were actively just torturing him so they'd hear. Him being naked made me think it wasn't actually him, but Kira later comments that she knew it was. Either way, he's gone now. And while the watchers don't break through, they do crack the glass, and it's just kind of this like ominous warning to stop breaking the rules.
Are you done breaking the rules?
Which brings us to some flashback character progression. We see that Mina and her sister are actually twins, both with Irish accents that are completely gone now. They might have explained why that is. I don't remember. And yeah, this is just showing us that Mina feels responsible for the events that led to her mother's death because she was being a little shit.
I don't understand why you can't just follow the rules.
Oh god, was that a necessary tie-in? See guys, her not following the rules has gotten someone killed before. Ooh, and it could have happened again. We had to have Madeline say the exact same thing or we'd never understand the nuance. God, at least pick less stilted dialogue and trust your audience to understand what you're showing them on screen. Whatever, winter settled in and now Madeline is starting to get more judgmental of everyone, particularly Danny, who traps her and locks her outside of the coop. The book at least had this as like months of continuous verbal and mental abuse on her behalf. You know, nothing murder worthy, but it just felt so abrupt here.
What are you doing?
Our rules now.
And by the time Mina frees her, the sun's going down and they're both locked out. Somehow they manage to hide beneath this rotting thing to mask their scent, and it just works, which is when the movie gets us a little peek of the Watchers. They're these monstrous humanoid things who are very pissed that their toys are missing. So when they scatter to go find them, Mina manages to get Danny to open the door by saying their deaths will haunt him for the rest of his life, because she knows, guys, she knows what it's like to feel responsible for someone's death. Gotta really drive home and connect every single little thing here. In the book, Madeline just asks him to at least let Mina back in before Kira lets them both in, which was like a rare moment of kindness on Madeline's behalf, that she was potentially willing to sacrifice herself for someone else. Whatever, they're back in, and Madeline starts to tell them everything she knows, that she was a historian, that she knew what was in the woods before she came here, but didn't realize how dangerous it was until she saw one with her own eyes, because what she saw was herself. A deformed version, longer and leaner, weird proportions, but her. Because the Watchers are essentially ancient fairy changelings who need to watch humans to learn how to be them with more accuracy, so these are their muses and playthings.
That's not possible.
The exact thing that John said when he got snatched up, because he probably saw himself. God, everything in this movie really does repeat. We get it, it's visuals, it's mirrors, it's doppelgangers. But now the Watchers are extra pissed and seem to be ready to be done with them and try with renewed vigor to break inside, leading them to move the table to block the door, which reveals a secret entrance, which I simply cannot believe wasn't examined before. I would have torn apart every inch of that place trying to find things, even if Madeline said she'd already had. There is no world where you go into a pit before moving a throw rug that has no reason to be here. In the book, when Mina suggests moving the table, Madeline just freezes and does nothing until Kira starts helping, suggesting that she knew very well that something was under there. And what it is a massive bunker with a ton of food and water and a computer left behind by the man who made this place, who thankfully left some video diaries. So you basically see the progression of him losing his mind, the fascination to horror as they get better and better at mimicking him before he treats the glass to not see them. There's some weird stuff with electricity and motor engines stopping, but then him managing to get a generator working in there. The book does mention at one point it has an iron roof, and in folklore, iron repels fairy magic, so who knows? I don't know. You'd think if that was the case, their cell phones would work when they're inside the coop, but that does not seem to be the case. Like, even if you just showed me like their phones turning on, but that obviously there's no reception out there, yeah, that would be something. Not something to get super hung up on, just like a mild annoyance considering how much else is explained in this. But Professor Kilmartin here basically said he was hiring 13 people a day to build this place, then locking them outside to die so no one else would see the fairies, all in the name of research. Then one day he noticed a new Watcher come through, a little red-headed girl, totally alone, seemingly curious. And it started to make him wonder if this power of duplication could be used to cheat death. Which, you know, dumb thought, it would just be an empty vessel with a face that looked like someone you used to know? Like, come on, man, we could probably achieve that with plastic surgery. The book does something different in this moment, which we will get to later, but he talks about thinking he sees something in the woods during the day and assumes he's losing his mind because he knows they can't go outside during the day. It'll later be revealed that something actually was watching him, but the movie does just commit to the forest giving people hallucinations, which is dumb. But back to the movie, he gets so curious of this one particular Watcher that he actually brings it inside the bunker with him, and it is very unhappy to be trapped. As you might expect, these things used to be godlike figures. Mina then cuts to the last video, which is 300 days in, feeling like he's lost his humanity and needs to kill himself and the one he brought inside, who he's created a bond with. But thankfully, he also tells them how to get back to the boat he used to get in here so they could actually escape this place. They just gotta go in the direction that all the birds do when they flee from the Watchers at night. It's gonna be the golden conure time to shine, isn't it? And his one request is that they go to the university and destroy all of his research so no one else can do what he did. I like the book more where he loses his mind for a very logical reason and then can't make it back to the boat because of an ankle injury, but yeah, dude sucked. Good riddance. The plan is to leave first thing in the morning, so they take the night to do a nice little character exposition dump that Daniel is a runaway, that his father was abusive, all these different hopes and dreams he's had and why he left, so it was right around here that I was pretty sure he was gonna die. But maybe I'm wrong, maybe there's a totally different reason why we started getting more information on this character at this point of the movie. They set off and they take the time to stop at this sigil thing that Madeline says was to lock in the fairies after they went to war with humanity and led to them losing their full abilities, and apparently is also the reason why they can't leave the forest. But they continue on as the night starts to chase them and thankfully do make it to the river in time, but yeah, something then calls out to Daniel and it's Jeff. Who the fuck is Jeff?
My name is Jeff.
Who he is just dragging out of the woods when, like, my guy, the last time you saw him, he was stripped naked and drug away, and now you have the full knowledge that these things can become any one of you, and he's fully clothed again. Do better. At least in the book, it's very clear that Daniel feels a special level of guilt for not saving John because of how nice Kira always is to him, so I can see why he'd so badly want it to be him. In the movie, even Kira's like, that's not my man.
Daniel! It's not John!
And yeah, of course it's not. He gets killed. In the book, it's after a lot of toying with him, which is extra sad because he's basically the only reason why Mina got away. He's also the only reason why she almost died with him, but still. In the book, she actually has an added layer of guilt because she looked in one of the burrows as they're fleeing and thinks one of them saw her, which is probably why I was able to get to them so much faster than the others. This one, I don't know why the one with his clothes conveniently got there so fast, but that's fine. So yeah, there is actually a really good chance that the one earlier was never John and it was just them pretending to have killed him again when they had done it off screen, but there was no kind of like telltale distortion signs. He didn't seem like he had awkward proportions, and I don't know how well they had his look down. I don't know. And just like that, they're done and back in civilization. I know a lot of people wondered why Mina would still have an apartment. I think she's only been missing for like about 2 months tops in the book, maybe 3, and it's acknowledged that her rent would auto pay. Though the book also mentions her being a struggling artist who doesn't make much money because she doesn't like doing commissions, and that's why she was driving a bird to Belfast for $200. Oh well, it's fine. She heads to the university to destroy his work, and the least believable thing is that they've preserved his office. University office space is a hot commodity. There is no way it would have remained untouched for this long. The book was at least smart enough to have his work in storage. I get that they wanted a more fun environment for her to look through, but like, come on, guys. Students fundraise to maintain the office, my ass! But she quickly finds what she's looking for, including more exposition dumps about fairies and humans living in harmony, at times even mating together, leading to halflings that could walk in the sun. So who knows how many are out there right now living among us? Before revealing a photo of Kilmartin and his wife, Madeline, who passed away before he ever built the bunker, which means that this isn't Madeline. Kilmartin went out to the woods to try to make a replication of his wife, somehow thinking it would like actually satisfy him emotionally in some way, that it could actually be her. The book actually tells us that the reason why he started being tortured by the creatures was because they all started replicating his wife in grotesque ways. They don't show us who the wife is at this point in the book, but good mysteries leave little clues like that sprinkled throughout so that it's like satisfying when you figure it out or when it's revealed. Like the bird always screeching when Madeline gets close because we know animals can't tolerate being around them. And the halfling Madeline in the book actually revered Kilmartin for teaching them how to use their abilities again, while others hated him for being a human, so I guess they were the ones who actually killed him in the book, but she feels separate from them because she can walk in the day. So Mina rushes to tell Kira what she's learned, and the movie does a nice flip up here that she is actually talking to Madeline disguised as Kira the whole time. Nice little switch up, I will give it to them, but this is where the motivations really start to differ between the two Madelines, the movie one and the book one. Movie Madeline says that it's her aim to become them, and that they deserve to die for being humans who ruined the fairy godliness. Things that don't quite make sense after living with them for months when she could have just offed them all whenever she wanted. Book Madeline really just plans to borrow different features and live a life away from the Watchers and needs to kill them to clean up the loose ends to finish Kilmartin's request. The movie section here is wild though, like this whole line had to be 80 yard. Like Mina is literally crawling on the ground with a shard of glass in her hand, answering questions like so calmly.
I won't tell anyone. I promise.
It's not Madam Web levels, but it's not great. I just don't know why movie Madeline wouldn't have gone to clear out the research herself. Like, she's shown that she can do a very convincing Kira, so she didn't have to show up as the dude's dead wife. The whole thing is just weird. Like, she's thanking Mina for showing her the way out, but Madeline knew that the bunker was there because she'd been in it, because she was obviously the one that he had pulled inside, but like, I guess she might not have known how to use a computer, but oh well. In the book, they at least make Madeline sticking around this thing where she actually sees the coop as her home, like as a gift from Kilmartin, and only left to honor his final wish as someone she's thankful to. Again, killing them was just to finish off his request, not some grand superiority plan because she doesn't actually want to kill like the changelings in the woods. Makes way more sense than the hard flip in the movie where she's like this nurturing, protecting person to just evil demon in an instant. It does feel a little bit weird in the book though when Mina's just like, oh yeah, just kill me already unless you want to stop being one of them and start being like like us. As if humans are such superior beings, but you know, it works. That's one of the other things she was happy he taught her how to be. The movie has to go a different route and have Mina reveal the idea of halflings and that Madeline might not actually be alone, that she could find more of her kind and live in the light as they are. No idea why that would lead to her sparing Mina's life, but you know, sure. But then it just turns into this like cheesy Grinch's heart grew 3 sizes situation where she's like rapid morphing in on herself until this like energy blast releases from her. No idea what happened here. Maybe this is just like the last pieces of her magic releasing because she then sprouts wings and flies away. Really awkward scene and definitely more of a moment for Mina to finally be letting go of her guilt, but whatever, it's fine.
I know what it's like to feel that half of you is evil.
Again, in the book, it just makes way more sense that by the end, she just doesn't want to hurt them and leaves them with a warning to never speak of any of it. Opposite of the movie, where this has all just been Mina narrating the situation to her sister, who is scarred from the accident, a literal physical reminder of the damage she caused reflected in her own face, but also showing that she's finally ready to start forgiving herself, with the final shot panning down to a little redhead on the street watching up at her window who for no reason has distorted proportions, in case you couldn't tell this was Madeline. So that's where the movie ends, but the book actually takes it to another chilling level. A good deal of the end of the book is just how they haven't been able to relax, that they can't trust any passing face because who knows what it could be. A constant dread that the movie really drops before Mina sees a face staring at her that she remembers from the beginning of the book, someone she used to draw and describe as the android for having unusually perfect features. The kind that could only be possible with a lot of work, or, you know, if you had the ability to perfectly sculpt yourself in an instant from the best available features. Someone she had compared Madeline to in the book almost instantly. So Mina assumes that this is Madeline come back for some reason, only to find her flanked by 2 other perfectly proportioned people before the actual halfling Madeline comes up behind her to say that Mina's in danger and that these changelings have been watching her for ages. So a lot going on with that little twist. Seems like they were watching her before she got lost. Was this all like a weird setup from her friend that he wasn't aware of to get her into the woods? Who knows? I wanted to know so bad that I found out that they were doing advanced reader copies and reached out for one, so if you're watching this, please send book. Thank you. Send book. But yeah, just a lot of key changes at the end so they could try and make an emotional through line to this created for the movie guilt trauma about Mina's dead mom that, again, could have been implemented well. I don't think it was, so we just kind of get like a pretty bland adaptation of the moments that are pretty much the same and then a really weak execution of stuff that they changed. There's no tension, there's no dread, and the mystery is implemented so poorly that the twist feels cheap and less logical than its literary counterpart. I appreciate the attempt to make things go a little bit deeper thematically, but God, it didn't have to be like this. That's gonna do it for today's video. Let me know what you guys are thinking in the comment section down below. I know a lot of people really did like this movie, and I am very happy for the people who did. That is awesome. I was just really disappointed by this. I thought that the trailer that I saw did look really good, so I was actually excited to see it. So this was just a really big disappointment for me. But thank you all so much for watching. Thanks again to getting me for 600,000 subscribers. That is such a huge number and is so very cool. So thank you so very much. Subscribe to the channel if you happen to be new. Leave a like on the video if you're into that kind of thing and you enjoyed it. All my other social medias are listed down below. I hope you're all having a fantastic day. I'm mostly okay, and we'll catch you all later. Fuck. Jesus. There we go.